The final press conference of the 2024 season from DeMeco Ryans. I asked Derek Stingley a question. He gave us a money quote, and I think I'm seeing the light on Bobby Slowick. Let's go inside the locker room before the offseason really kicks in. Localized end of divisional round and really end of the Texans season version. Let's eat.
Yeah. It's the locker room on YouTube. You know what it is. Let's get it. Ayy. Locker room. Yeah, we in the locker room. Texas talk. Yeah, you know what we about to do. Localize. Every angle's what we really do. We the source. We the pulse of the city too. Landlocked. Got the game in the headlock. Localize every time. Can't stop, won't stop. Yeah, we top two and we not too. Plugged in daily digital on YouTube. We got taste for days. Opinions to give. We got takeaways. If it's up, then
it is the locker room number one source for Texans digital content. I'm Landry Locker. It's freezing like a mofo here in Houston. Going to be a snow day tomorrow, which means they're going to basically shut down the entire city. Texans shut down their season. DeMeco Ryans speaks for the final time. We'll get into that. First, I want to let you know this video brought to you by BetUS. Use the promo code YouTube150 and you can get 150% bonus up to $2,000 just in time for Championship Sunday, which the Texans will not be a part of, which they've never been a part of. Let's hop right into it. Let's get it. We'll get into the good things, the best things, and the worst things about this season. But let's jump into this and let's hear what DeMeco Ryans had to say and kind of react to DeMeco, his final 2024 press conference.
There'll be a lot of questions about, staffing players and all those things. Just want to let you guys know that I'll take the week to make those decisions on staffing and all those things. So before everybody gets started, just want to let you guys know that. Okay, fire away.
Guys, they all a week. Okay. I mean, what change are we talking? Are we talking Bobby Slowick? Are we talking offensive line coach? What are we going to do? That's going to be interesting. I've come to the conclusion, before we get back to DeMeco, I feel like I've kind of seen the light on Bobby Slowick. And I think that Bobby Slowick he is what Matt Burke is. He can be a coordinator as long as he's not calling plays. And I don't know when I really saw that light, but that's just kind of like the way that he carries himself, the way he handles himself. I think he's a good resource. But when you have a defensive-minded coach and the offensive side of the ball is that important because you have a guy who's always looked at football as that skill set, I just think that you need someone that's not Bobby Slowick. I think if Kyle Shanahan needed an OC, I think Bobby Slowick could go handle it.
Damn it, Bobby.
I think if Sean McVay needed an OC, I think Bobby Slowick could go handle it. I think he can be your coordinator that notices things and is just kind of like an extra resource, decorated like personal assistant. I think he can be that. I don't think Bobby Slowick is a guy who should oversee the offense for a team that has a defensive-minded head coach. I don't think he possesses the presence to be that. I don't think he displays the abilities and the organization on the field to present that. You can improve the talent and make him better. But I don't think in a season in which injuries happen, I don't think that Bobby Slowick is that guy. I just don't. Kyle Shanahan's fired multiple defensive coordinators because he knows how important it is. He knows you just can't tread water. Kyle Shanahan has opinions on defense. Kyle Shanahan's not going to sit there and have time to babysit a defensive coordinator. That's probably why they're going to bring back Robert Saleh. They found one that they liked, and no one has been able to fill that void. So that's how I feel about Bobby Slowick. I think he could be an offensive coordinator for an offensive-minded coach who calls plays. I don't think he's the right guy to oversee that side of the rock when you have someone who leans as defensive-minded as DeMeco Ryans. Just my take. Back to DeMeco.
Said, I feel like this is a team that's close to taking that next step, but it'll take more. Will Anderson reference a sense of urgency about everything and attacking the offseason that way. What do you think of that message and kind of that approach to it?
I agree with everything Will Anderson says. He's spot on there. It will take that sense of urgency consistently from everyone to, get to where we want to get to. So I mentioned to our guys today, like my position and my role is to take this organization to new heights. And new heights for us is finding a way to get to the AFC Championship. So we haven't been as an organization. And to do that, we need, everybody on board, like Will Anderson, a guy who is the flag bearer for Swarm and the mentality and everything that we need from our entire team.
Okay.
You feel like it did take a little bit longer for you all to get things going?
I think the urgency needs to be there. I think it needs to be proactive. We'll see if that happens. I think the next week will tell a lot, and then we'll see how they attack the offseason. There's going to be a lot of layers. It's going to be a long offseason, but urgency would be nice. It would be nice to see urgency in season 2. The offense, it's been clear that there's been a problem. Shaq Mason going back in the lineup, some of the other stuff that you made. It would be nice to see some urgency on both sides of the ball proportional to the defense.
Offensively, the way you wanted it to come.
Overall, offensively, we have to improve. It wasn't where we wanted to be. There were challenges throughout the year, just like that's every year. You have challenges, you have ups and downs where you try to figure out the course of who you have and how to make it work. But we have to improve.
What in the decision to start Shaq at right guard after Juice had played there for a couple of games?
Yeah, Shaq had a really good week of practice. Shaq has been working a while to get back with us, get back out there, and thought he had a really good week. And the overall, it was good. It wasn't good from collectively of how we protected, but it's not just one person.
Go ahead. I know you're really big on this year's this year, last year's last year. So with that being said, one, how would you look at this year now that the season is over? And two, just as a coach, what is today like for you knowing that this group, it won't look the same next year and once again the season is kind of just coming to a close?
When I look at this year specifically, I am proud of our guys and for accomplishing what we accomplished this year to win a division, to get into the playoffs, right? Get to the divisional round. Like I'm proud of our guys for that. But for me as a coach, as a competitor, that's not what I put all the work in for, is just to get to the divisional round and just be excited about that just because of where the Texans were before. I'm just supposed to be pleased with getting to the divisional round. That's not why I work. Like I worked to win, and we didn't get the job done. We didn't make enough plays to win the game to get over the hump. So for me, it's like good year, but not good enough in my mind. And for me, it's how do we take the organization to new heights? So I'm looking at all areas to improve our football team.
How you feel Bobby Slowik did in year 2 as a play caller?
Yeah, I think overall with Bobby, I saw some growth, saw some improvement throughout the year.
That's it. Could Bobby get fired? Look at that face. Does that look like a guy that is satisfied with the offense? Does DeMeco have the nuts to fire Bobby? I feel like it's more of a possibility today than it was before. Would I bet on it? Probably not. But that's a short ass answer. That's a short ass answer on Bobby Slowik from DeMeco.
When you said that you were going to take some time to look at your staff as a whole, look at the roster as a whole, and then you're going to make those decisions throughout the week. How hard is that, knowing that some of these guys that may not be here next year, because this is a business?
How hard is it that some of these guys might not be there and you might not see them? And he's going to say probably, yeah, it's tough. Your brothers, blah, 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 blah.
There is turnover on teams in the NFL. How hard is that to, tell a player that we're not going to retain you or bring you back, even though they gave their all, throughout the year?
Having those difficult conversations with players, it's always tough, right? Anytime you have to tell a guy no, it's probably one of the the toughest parts of this job is having to tell players no, but we'll see how things shape out. There's no no's being said right now because, me having a view of these guys for the entire year and seeing the work that they put in, right, behind the scenes, knowing what a lot of guys have to deal with to just get themselves ready to go for a game. Like, man, I tell our guys, man, it's nothing but respect, admiration, and love for the effort and everything that they go through to get themselves ready to go and to play the style of play that I asked them to play. Like, very appreciative for every guy that stepped into, our room this year. And as I tell them, they're always my players. No matter how it shapes out, you never know, right? You can go somewhere else, or we can always end back up together again.
Is that the same way with the staff as well? Because you said that at the beginning of the year 2 is the year for you to focus on the coaches. So is that the same way as well?
Yeah, same way. For coaches, there'll be, as always, teams change, right? As the room never stays the same. As players, coaches, support staff, it never stays the same, right? That's how this business has been since I've been involved in almost 20 years now. It changes every single year. So that happens. There'll be difficult conversations to have, but that's the nature of what we do.
I know you said after the game that you hadn't seen Chris Boyd push Frank Ross, and I'm sure you've seen it by now. I wondered if you could give us your reaction and thoughts to that kind of reaction, especially in a playoff game when you're trying to get going and something like that happens.
Correct. Seeing the play for Boyd, we give up the long run to start the game, which is not what we want to do. Missed a couple tackles there, and looking at it again, you see Boyd gets the ball out, and I think he thought that we recovered the ball, and he made a big time play to get the ball back for our team. And that's something we talked about for our special teams going into this game is, like, let's affect the game by getting the ball. I thought Boyd thought that he did that, got the ball back, and he came over with the, excitement, overly excited that he made a play. But we can't lose our minds in that sense of taking our helmet off. We still have to remain poised, right? You cannot take your helmet off in a game. Everyone knows that, understands the rules. So instead of, helping us, it ended up hurting us. And I don't think he was pushing Frank in a disrespectful manner. I think it was more so he was fired up, overly fired up, then thought he made a play to help us. So that narrative that he's pushing a coach, or that's incorrect.
Yeah, I would agree with that. I just don't know if that makes it better or worse. Like I've seen Travis Kelce push Andy Reid. I've seen Tyreek Hill push his coach. Like I've seen that happen. You force a fumble and you run off the field. Like if you force the fumble and you stay in the play, maybe you recover it. You turn around and don't even know what's going on. And then even if you recovered the fumble, you get a 15-yard penalty because you throw your helmet. And you still don't know what happened. Like you didn't even watch or finish the play. So some are like, well, yeah, he obviously wasn't doing that. He wasn't, but that doesn't make it any less dumb. Like he didn't even see whether they recovered it or not. So I think Chris Boyd is wired up the right way for a special teamer, but it doesn't make it any less dumb. Like it was a dumb play all the way around. That was kind of just weird behavior, honestly, by Boyd. He's a strange cat, though. More from DeMeco.
CJ was just talking about he needs to have some uncomfortable conversations, he thinks, or at least some very honest ones this offseason with people. And it all starts with setting a high standard that needs to be maintained during offseason. Do you feel like the standard wasn't set as high as you may have thought it was going to be set, or that needs to be adjusted?
Well, the standard that I set is always high, and as you guys hear me speak every week, it's about consistently improving every single week. Like, so the standard is there. It's just everybody being on board with that. That's where when you look at games, when the ball is snapped and there's action, and you got to go make plays, is everybody playing up to that standard? And if I'm correct, that's what I think CJ is mentioning. And that standard, when you get to the divisional game, like, what it takes to win. It takes everybody being bought in, dialed in, mentally and physically, like being on it and not having any lapses. That's that standard that we did not live up to in the game, and that's why we didn't win the game, because we didn't play up to our standard mentally or physically.
This time last year, you had mentioned about trying to shore up the line of scrimmage, especially on the defensive side of the ball. Offensively this year, just what do you guys have to focus on trying to shore that group up?
With our line positions, offensively, defensive line, like that's where you win games. So we have to improve in both areas. So we'll look at all ways to improve on both sides.
Yeah, we're not talking defense, brother. Like let's talk offense. I know you're defensive minded guy. Let's talk offense. We were talking offense there, sir.
When you the guys get ready for the offseason, how do you advise them? I know you want everybody to get some break for a minute, but like how would you like to see them approach the offseason so they come back?
Yeah, the main thing, I think, to start, I think everybody needs a little break to get started, allow their bodies a chance to, recover and heal up, because a lot of guys are dealing with little nicks and injuries, so they need their bodies to heal. And what I encourage our guys, and mainly a lot of our young guys, is to make sure they're here in the off season working out. As soon as we can have our guys back in the building working out, we want our guys to take advantage of that and be able to work out here, with our staff who knows their bodies the best. So that's what I encourage our guys to do. It's very hard to show up like the first day of off season training and to expect yourself to be ready to go at training camp. That's just a little too late. There's not enough time, that 9-week window, to get yourself ready to go for the season. So you can make a lot of gains, a lot of strides in your physical health, your body. You can put yourself in a really good spot to have a successful season if you start working out as soon as possible, right after the Super Bowl.
Yeah, I'm seeing on the chat, going back to the Chris Boyd thing, it wasn't that serious. Dude, the guy forced a fumble, ran off the field celebrating before the team could have even recovered the fumble, and threw his helmet. That's pretty stupid. But he might not have pushed Frank Ross, and he didn't even know what went on. That's pretty damn dumb. I don't know what serious means. That's pretty dumb. For someone on your football team, the first play of the game, of a game like that, if there's not, you didn't think you made a play, you walked away from the play. So I don't know what serious is. I think that's pretty bad. I still would keep Chris Boyd on the team. I think he's a really good special teams player. I actually think that screw loose is probably what makes him him. But yeah, I'm not that serious. I think it's pretty knucklehead behavior, quite honestly. Defense held though.
What do you have a general sense of what Tank Dell will be able to play in 2025?
We'll continue to assess Tank and see where he ends up. It's too early right now to put a timeline on it. We'll just give him time to heal and progress, see how the rehab goes.
If obviously you don't know now, but if by chance he does miss time, is that urgency to try to find another receiver?
Yeah, I'm not going to live in the ifs. And right now, we'll see where we are. We'll look to improve our team in every area.
I don't know if you've had any time to reflect. I know it's been a whirlwind probably, but would you be able to think about what about this team made you the most proud, or what you'll remember most about this squad specifically?
What I'm most proud of with this team is just, I said it earlier, it's the resiliency of our team. We were a lot of ups and downs throughout the year, but I felt like our foundation was really solid. We built a really solid foundation in training camp. And what I truly believe in is guys building tight connections, the tight bond. And I felt like we built that. And we have a great foundation here, great foundation. A lot of young players as well are the core of that foundation. So I'm really excited about that and continue to add to what we have already. We got a lot of great players, a lot of great young players that can help us go to the next level. And they showed that throughout this season, and through all of the, different lineup changes, guys are in and out. What I'm proud of as well is nobody complained about anything. Guys went out, they played hard, they played their best. learned through some tough losses, right, and celebrated some nice victories as well along the way. But just proud of the resiliency of the entire team.
DeMeco, year 2 is in the books now. When do you have your Damascus Road moment to go back and, jettison everything inside of you getting ready for year 3?
Yeah. Now so many things that are going on as we finish up the season, a lot of conversations to be had, a lot of decisions to be made. And, once that happens over the next month or so, I'll take that time for myself to reflect and recharge.
Coach Joe Mixon expressed confidence in Nick Caserra's ability to build the roster. Said he's got things cooked up, the fireworks are on the way. How do you guys approach that offseason of wanting to not just come back with the same team, wanting to always be upgrading and looking for the best talent you can get into the roster?
As me and Nick approach the offseason doesn't change. That's every year we're looking to improve our roster as best as we can to put out a winning team.
Last year, you guys, division round, you guys lost, by I think like 24 points. This year, it was a 1-score game in the fourth quarter. So obviously, you guys made some improvement in that aspect. How close do you feel like you guys are to get over that hump? And what do you feel like you guys have to do to be able to get over that hump to where you guys break through and closer to the Super Bowl?
Better defense.
To get over the hump, we had to play better in those games, right? It takes a lot of work, a lot of effort to get there.
I agree with DJ. I don't think there's progress. I don't think it's as simple as points. Better defense, worse offense. Not any closer this year than last.
You don't just start the next year at the divisional round. Like, you have to earn your right to get there. So 2025 would be a reset, see, how that team comes together and how close of a bond we can create, and what that journey will be like will look different than this year's journey. So, but to get over any hump, you got to go earn that right again, right? And when you get there, you got to do what it takes to win the game and not have self-inflicted mistakes. So the teams that are still standing are teams that don't shoot themselves in the foot. They put themselves in good positions to play complementary football, and they do it well together. And that's why they're at the end. So if we want to be there, we just got to do our jobs and do it on a consistent basis.
See, this is just kind of summarizes where the Texans were this year. And we'll get into whether or not they're close or not. But what he just said about the Kansas City game, I think it kind of just summarizes where they are, because he says, you can't have any self-inflicted wounds if you want to win. Well, yeah, the special teams, they made mistakes. We saw that. He's probably talking about the defense, as he's lost Kelsey a couple times. They did that. The offense didn't turn the rock over. That was the offense. Like, that's the offense we expect. There's no ceiling for this offense. They had one good drive. Granted, it was the best drive of the year. But outside of that, that was the same offense we've seen all year. That. We knew the way this season ended in some way, shape, or form that we would be talking about the offense. The offensive line allows 8 sacks. Okay, what is it? It must be another Sunday. That happens all the time. We've seen the offense allow a high pressure rate all season long. We've seen them not know what the hell they're doing. We've seen Dalton Schultz not block. Hell, we went however long without even seeing a second half touchdown, which makes that drive look even better. Special teams had their one bad game of the season. Well, they've had some badish, but their worst game of the season. And the defense made Patrick Mahomes look somewhat pedestrian statistically, and they lost Kelsey a couple of times. The offense really didn't make a ton of mistakes. I mean, they're not a well-oiled machine, but not anything uncharacteristic. That's the 2024 Texans. And they need to get to, when you talk about complementary football, they need to get to a point in this offseason where the defense doesn't have to be perfect. Special teams can afford to have a bad day. And maybe the offense can do their part. because that hasn't been the case at any point this season. It's not injuries. It's not cohesiveness on the offensive line. That hasn't been the case at any point this season with the offense. So I don't know. Why did we not use Irv Smith more in the passing game? Why would they? I mean, even the fact that that's a question kind of speaks to where the offense is. Is Irv Smith a good receiver? I don't know. Here's more from DeMeco.
Go ahead, Sam.
A lot of players today have expressed their support for bringing back Stephon Diggs this offseason. And just kind of how much his leadership meant to this team. Kind of what does player input go into kind of making a decision like that, and how much weight?
They say that they're nice and he was good he was good with them. Dude, he didn't even rehab here. Like he was here twice. The playoff game and the Beyonce game. Like, of course they're going to say that. They're not going to say, no, we don't want Diggs back. Let's move on. Let's get younger. Let's figure something else out, please.
Yeah, I won't get into specifics of each player, but, me and Nick will look at the roster and see where we can add guys to help our team win, right? And that's what we'll do, and each player is different.
What does it say about this team, knowing that all the adversities that you all went through as far as, dealing with the injuries and have to reshuffle things that you got to the point that you are, but to also, after year one, going into year two, there was a lot of players on the outside looking in who wanted to play for the Texans. Do you think that you all also did enough to recruit some of those players?
What is going on right now? On the super chat, Vegas says, I don't know why everyone is mad about the Schultz not blocking thing. It hasn't been his skill set his whole career. He's a pass catcher, not a blocker. I think that's a fair point. I mean, it's a square peg, round hole theory. They don't do that on defense. They find a way to put Jalen Petrie where his strengths are. And then when Jalen Petrie gets hurt, they have Jimmy Ward, who's elite at it. When Jimmy Ward goes down, they don't just put someone in there and ask him to do those same things. So Vega, I think that's an excellent point. Like if you know what someone is and you're running plays with them, then can you really get mad at the guy? Like it's been very well documented Dalton Schultz isn't the best blocker. So I think you bring up a good point.
Players, the free agents that are going to be out there now to bring them in.
And we'll see what that pool of players looks like. I haven't even looked at the free agent list and seen what it looks like, but I know the guys that we had, man, they gave us everything. All right, everything that I asked those guys to do, they did it. Right, and it was fun to work with all the guys that we had this year. And of course, you always love to bring all the guys back because I know what they're about. But we know it all. It doesn't all work that way. It has to work two ways, both ways there. So again, man, as many good players want to come here, as many good players as we can add, like we're about that.
Schultz effort. That's fair. It doesn't look good. It doesn't look good.
So I'm pleased with this year and where our guys were. The guys we added were definitely helped us to get to where we were this year. And again, we're close, but close isn't good enough. All right. So we'll keep working to find a way to get over there.
How long does it take you before you take a step back from football and just, spend time with the family and just be DeMeco Ryans instead of being head coach DeMeco Ryans?
Hopefully I can get there after this week, but we'll see. You never know how long that'll take.
You going?
Oh, go for it.
Okay. When you look at players building this team, one of the things you always talked about was, culture and resilience. But what is that thing that you identify when you're putting the guys together to get this buy-in that you got? You said the team is close-knit. What is it that you look for that you say, this will fit, this person will fit here, beyond just what they do on the field?
What I look for in guys is, first off, it's all about, the play style. Right? They have to be good players and have to enjoy playing football. And you get enough guys who love playing football and love what they do, then they fit in here, right? And you want guys who are good people as well, hearing about how they treat teammates, how are they in other locker rooms. That's important as well because we want to of course, take this organization to new heights, but we want to do it with good people. And you do special things by doing it with special people. And I truly believe in that. And we take a lot of thought, take a lot of time into figuring out who those people are that we bring into our organization.
Outside of your own assessment of how you did as a head coach, is there another coach or a person that you lean on to go through and evaluate how you did and get feedback from them?
I go to Cody, see how I did. I'm leaning on you to give me my honest assessment. Whenever you're ready, I want to hear what you got. All right. No, MJ will give it to me. He's still upset we lost that game. Good. No, thank you guys for the year, or just want to thank you guys for all the work you guys put in as well, and all of the graciousness, great people here. Enjoy working with you guys as well. So thank you guys. Y'all have a good offseason.
All right, Cody Stutes, the evaluator. How about that? Yeah, that's Gavo says, Landry, I remember you during camp saying you saw the look and the way Shaq moved, and Cody said you're putting worry where it doesn't need to be, and we see how it worked out. Yeah, I'm really good at telling when offensive linemen are washed. And like it's the Matt Khalil type of thing, Justin Britt, like you can tell on offensive linemen, especially in this Texas heat, they really, really show when they're just cooked. And it was kind of obvious with Shaq. And I'm actually shocked that they put him back in there. But yeah. Jake on the soup says, what do you say to people that give the excuse they're rebuilding when Washington technically is too? I don't know. Chiefs easy three-peat. Shout out to you, my friend. Congratulations, man. That's a nice step. I think Buffalo's going to beat their ass though. Bet US promo code YouTube 150. I think Buffalo's going to beat the Chiefs ass. Like I think it's the line right now is 2. I think Buffalo beats their ass. You can mark this and like call me out if it doesn't happen, but I think they win by at least 10 points. I'm gonna wait for the alternate line for that to bet on that. I don't think the Chiefs can keep up with Buffalo, and I think Baltimore would have beat their ass too. MHW Nation, should we get a look at broker this offseason? Probably not. Would be my thing. I would say no to that. But that was DeMeco. I want to get into the best things of 2024, and we'll hear from Derek Stingley in a sec as well. He's an interesting dude. He doesn't like to talk a lot, but he's more so about that action. But the best things of 2024, before we get into whether or not the Texans are close, I would say there's really 3 things that I think were the best of 2024. I would say number 1 is Will Anderson taking the next step. Will Anderson took the next step. I mean, you make a case he's a better player than CJ right now. He's not more important because you need your quarterback and you have more depth there. But as far as like who the better player is, who's better at their position, and who you feel better about moving forward with no question marks, not saying you feel bad about CJ, but I think Will Anderson's only going to get better. He's becoming more and more of a total guy. DeMeco says he's the face. Will Anderson taking the next step, extremely encouraging. Derek Stingley has become elite, and he stayed healthy the entire season. He met with the media. I asked him about whether or not he wants to be here or not, the contract, all that type of stuff. Let's hear from elite all-pro Derek Stingley.
I mean, it could have been better. A lot more plays we made, missed out on. We, as a team, as defense, come back, got to do it.
What has to happen this offseason for you guys to get over that hump?
I mean, really, what Joe was saying after the game, Joe Mixon, just saying, whatever you did last year, just, up the ante a little bit. So just do a little bit more.
Ain't got to worry about you.
See how far they take us.
How do you feel about the whole secondary, especially how some of the young guys developed this season?
Yeah, I mean, I think that they gonna play a long time in the league. They gonna make a lot of plays. They gonna do the right thing always. Like, they since they came in, they won, making plays on the field or, just being on time, like just doing all the small stuff. So I mean, I think they the ones that's really gonna take us wherever we can get.
Does it excite you to know you play with these guys for years after what they just did as rookies?
Yeah. I mean, anytime that's what all my teammates, like you can trust them, like you can trust all your teammates, so you just make a better plan out there.
You're eligible for the extension now. Is this where you want to be long term?
Yeah, I want to be here forever.
Is that something you want to get done in the off season?
I mean, I'm gonna let whoever handle that. I'm gonna just be here working out, just taking care of me.
How do you elevate individually your game from what we saw this year?
I mean, there's always room to grow. Like that's with anything in life. Like if you think you're good at something, you can figure out what you can be better at. Like everything, really. So
was the health? Was there anything you did to put more into that, or is that sometimes just kind of a luck thing, playing the full season?
You said luck?
Is there something that you did to get your body more prepared, or is it sometimes just like bad luck when the injuries have happened in the previous seasons?
When it comes to injuries, that can just happen. Like it's football, so like you can get hurt. But pretty much I've been here every off season, working out with Mike and the whole strength staff every day. Been working with my pops. Like I ain't really. I've done what I've always done. Like it's not like I just did some magic trick and made it here. So yeah.
All right, there you go. It's Derek Stingley. He's gonna do it. And shout out to Mr. Stingley, man. He's always, there's a lot of dads that kind of guide their sons in directions and they don't know what the hell they're doing. And sometimes it's not, it's kind of counter to what the coaches want. I mean, it seems to be like a perfect mix of him being a DeMeco guy and his pops just knowing how to coach him up and everything like that. And, he mentions it and his dad does his thing. So shout out to Mr. Stingley for doing whatever the hell he's doing. Because he is handling his business and they are about to get some serious bread with David Mulligetta. But Derek Stingley says he wants to be a Texan forever. I think he's going to get paid this offseason. It's going to be a hell of a lot. The one healthy season. Other things that were good this year, the best final thing, not the rookie corners, the rookie DBs. Kalen Bullock and Kamari Lassiter, you solidified your secondary. You might have one of the best young secondaries in the league. You might have one of the best corner duos in the league already. That's only going to get better. So you did that. Now, notice on all the best, it was all on defense. DeMeco Ryans is asked about the offensive line. He brings the defensive line into the conversation. I don't want to say that that's not a coincidence, but I don't want to say it is a coincidence either. You got to get some offense stuff. Which brings us to the worst of this. This is going to be the complete opposite. There's not going to be anything on defense here. The worst of 2024. 3 things. CJ Stroud regression. The why, we can sit here and talk about. It's not one thing. There's a number of things that went wrong. The surroundings aren't great, but you feel confident in CJ Stroud in the future. You don't feel more confident. You probably feel a little bit less confident just given the surroundings of how they're going to put him in the best position. So that's discouraging thing number one. It can change quickly, but that's number one. Number 2, the offensive line. Look, I don't fault them for bringing back that offensive line to start the season, but the way it was handled during the season, the way that the offensive line handled themselves, like after some of their worst performances, I mean, this is one of the worst offensive lines in the NFL. It's one of the most expensive. Cody the other day was like talking about how other teams built their O-line, and I was like, man, it's kind of a moot point because it's not a lack of effort for what the Texans have done in investing in the offensive line. The bare minimum, it's just incompetent evaluation. I mean, you go back, they traded 2 firsts and a second for Laramie Tunsil. They used a first-round pick on Kenyon Green. They used a first-round pick on Kenyon Green when they could have had Tyler Linderbaum, center. As a result of that, they then used a second-round pick on Juice Scruggs. They traded for Shaq Mason, made him one of the highest-paid guards in the league. They used a first a while ago on Titus Howard. They gave him an extension, made him one of the highest-paid tackles in the league. He wasn't playing good at tackle, so they moved him to to guard, and they put in a guy that they used a second-round pick on in Blake Fisher. They've invested a lot in that. They probably have invested more in their offensive line than any team in the league, and it's one of the worst offensive lines. And the offense as a whole is the worst. And that's where you can throw.
Damn it, Bobby.
Will he be back or not? Who knows? And I think this is a big year for DeMeco Ryans, and something he's going through that most coaches go through when it comes to fixing that side of the rock. Some of you saying you can throw tight end in there. Yeah, Dalton Schultz contract is as bad as any offensive line contract. Not a lot of dynamic stuff there. So, yeah, I don't know what they're going to do. Are the Texans close to being elite? That kind of seems like the talking point. I mean, I don't. I mean, I think it's kind of like a double. It's a double-edged thing where I think they're far away if they continue to function the way they're functioning and they bring back the players that they have. I think they're very far away. Like this roster, they weren't beating the Chiefs. They damn sure weren't beating the Ravens, and they damn sure weren't beating the Bills in the playoffs. You can catch the Bills sleeping in a regular season game. They weren't beating any of those teams. And I don't care if it's one possession or not. We're talking about a team that went months without scoring a second half touchdown. So 7-point game, 8-point game, 5-point game, 4-point. That's not, you can minimize it and say, well, yeah, they're one possession. Nah, not with this offense. You're not. So I think they're close, but far. And they're going to have to make the right decisions when it comes to the offense. The good news is that your defense is so set right now that if you just go into this offseason and you say, we're going to get the most impact guys on offense, we're going to take a close evaluation of this offensive staff, the coming to Jesus meeting that I keep mentioning, you can change that very quickly. It's not like they don't have anything. Like you have a quarterback that regardless of what we say, you feel good about. You have a receiver that you feel awesome about. And then you just got to fill in those holes. But if you're going to run it back with Mechie, Hutchinson, you're not going to have a backup running back that you trust as Mixon gets older, and you're going to keep this same offensive line, you're closer to the Colts than you are the Chiefs. You're a couple of games away from Indianapolis. Like in the standings, you're closer to the Colts than you are to the Chiefs. The Chiefs are up there. Same thing with the Bills. Like it's the same mix. And it can change at the snap of a finger. So I don't think they're like close this year. And if they function on offense like this, they continue to function the way that they function, you're going to have a defense that's going to be able to carry you to 9-10 wins, and you're going to go into the playoffs. You're going to get your ass whooped eventually in some way, shape, or form. So we'll see where they end up going, and we'll get a grasp of the coaching decisions. I would assume that there's some changes on the offensive staff, but I'm not really feeling like they're like they left some meat on the bone. I think they achieved about what you could have realistically expected them to achieve this year. based on their own decision making and the way in which they function on a very important side of the rock. So that's just kind of where it is. Like I don't feel like there was like strong progress made on as a complete football team. And this is a pivotal time for DeMeco Ryans. Buffalo and Baltimore have changed their offensive coordinator recently when their offenses look like this. I don't think they've ever looked this pathetic. So if you want to minimize that and say it's just the players, okay, bring some better players and see what it looks like. You want to say that Bobby Slowick sucks?
Damn it, Bobby.
And he probably shouldn't be overseeing an entire offense for a defensive-minded head coach. He probably should be a coordinator for someone who calls plays, kind of like Matt Burke. Then move on. If you tell yourself that this offensive line needs to be run back, then everybody should sell their DeMeco Ryans stock. And if you're a season ticket holder that expects this team to take the next step, or you expect this organization to function competently, if they run back this same offensive line next year, it's a wrap. You can have questions about anyone and everyone in that organization if they run this back, this O-line. Hell, they just put Shaq Mason back on the field because he had a couple good practices. He had a couple good practices, so Shaq Mason went back on the field.
We in here talking about practice.
Did y'all watch the games? Why did y'all tell us that the offensive line had gotten so much better in the last few weeks? And then you put Shaq Mason back out there, and he looks like he has all season long. Even worse. From god-awful to horse crap. So we'll learn a lot, and we'll get these answers. Hell, we'll get these answers in the next few months. There's going to be different layers to this. Who do they decide to cut? Who do they decide to sign? What do they decide to do in free agency? And then in the draft, it should be an offensive-heavy draft. There should be an offensive overhaul around here. DeMeco, you can coach them up on defense, my friend. You don't have to worry about your defense. We feel good about that, sir. Feel great about that. Feel awesome. Don't even really fault you for this. Like, this is not like that. Y'all misevaluated the offensive line. That whole process started before DeMeco got here. Now is where you figure it out. It's not an impossible task. You know what an impossible task is? Trying to find a quarterback. You can find yourself in no man's land if you don't find a quarterback. I don't know how great CJ Stroud is going to end up being. He doesn't suck. He's going to be your quarterback for a long time. I think he's going to get better. I feel confident about that. Might not have happened this year, but I think it's going to happen. But if you go into the offseason needing a quarterback, you could be screwed. If you need edge rushers, you could be screwed. If you need corners, you could be screwed. They got all that. If you don't have a good coach, you're screwed. They have that. Do they have the ability to function and evaluate offense? Right now, those questions are valid. What will they do? Because I think people are sick and tired. I know I am. And look, I know whenever you turn on a microphone and you blab about sports and teams and all that crap, I know sometimes you're going to throw out opinions. And you're going to talk about stuff that sometimes you're going to be wrong, sometimes you're going to be right. But I think people here are tired of being right about how sorry this offense is. You know that Kenyon Green sucks, and they keep putting him out there. You know that Shaq Mason sucks, and they keep putting him out there. We'll see what they do. They got to figure something out, and then we'll have the questions about DeMeco, and we'll figure it out. Evan on the soup, Luther Burden in the third, draft him. Look, I just as many offensive playmakers as there is. I'm not doing this need crap. I'm not doing this whole need thing. Offense, best players on offense. If Tyler Warren's there at 25 from Penn State, the tight end, draft him. Hell, let him QB sneak whenever there's short yardage. Let him block. He can block. He's already probably your second best receiver. He can line up at fullback and move around. Hell, you can run Wildcat with him. I don't think he gets to 25. I don't think that happens. But if he's there, screw the needs. Get him. There's a wide receiver that you like there, a Book out of Ohio State or something like that. Get him. Hell, if Genty falls down there, Joe Mixon's not getting any younger. How about trying to get some sort of thing where you can have two backs on the field? That's a hell of a concept. They kind of tried to do that against Kansas City. They didn't do it all year. Do that. If there's a badass offensive lineman, I guess do it, but I don't trust y'all's ass in evaluation. That's the other problem. I don't trust y'all on the offensive line. And that's the danger of the draft. And that's what I try to avoid when you talk about the draft. Because the way that some people talk about the draft is, well, we need a lockdown corner, as if whenever you fill out your card, you say, all right, give us a lockdown corner, and they give you a lockdown corner. Sometimes it's not available. They need ballers on offense, period. If Bobby Slowick's still here,
damn it, Bobby.
You need ballers that can overcome and be the lipstick on the pig that is the Bobby Slowick offense. They need to get this offense, and they need multiple guys that can make plays. That's the frustrating thing for me watching these other teams is you're seeing all of these dudes make plays to where you're like, who the hell is that? Damn, I didn't know Brown was making plays for Washington. What the hell is that? Oh, damn, Philly's got Gamewell in. Damn. Nice to see him. Hollins for the Bills all of a sudden is making plays? Wow. What? Wait, is that Knox or Kincaid for the Bills? I don't know. Oh, wait, Davis scored that touchdown, not Cook? Damn. What? Amari Cooper's on their team? He just got his first target of the game? Like all these teams have like multiple guys. Oh, Hollywood Brown didn't have a catch. He dropped one. I thought he was going to make plays. He didn't make plays. Xavier Worthy didn't make plays. Oh, crap. We were talking about Pacheco. There's Kareem Hunt. He's basically putting the Texans 6 feet under. Texans don't have that. They have 3 running backs they like, and they don't even use 2 of them. Like Dare Ogunbowale catches a 2-yard rollout, and it's like he's got like 50 media types around his locker because that's like so shocking. Everybody else has all these freaking players that can make plays. It's weird. It's really, really, really weird to watch. It's a lot. It's a hell of a lot. On the soup, Nathan. We're the AFC version of the Bucs this year. The differences is their offense was good and ours wasn't. And they also have a defensive-minded coach. I guess. I mean, yeah, bad division. Quarterback who's not elite in that tier or tiers below. Stud wide receiver, Mike Evans. Their other guys got hurt. They have multiple backs, though. Evan says, do we re-sign Diggs or let him walk? I want him out. I don't want to bring back Diggs. Gunnar Helm next year. I mean, he could be a 3rd rounder. I think Gunnar Helm would be your best tight end. You're damn sure not going to question that mofo's effort or the yards after catch. I love Gunnar Helm. Big fan. They need to figure something out there. Got to ship off some of these guys. Offensive line restructuring. I don't even know how many other teams would want these guys. That's the other thing. I don't know. I don't know whether they would even want these offensive linemen. There's always a tendency to want to trade your crappiest players. Understandably so. It's just sometimes they ain't gonna bite the hook though on the guys. So that's just kind of how that go, you know. So we'll see how it goes. It's going to be interesting. It's going to be a hell of an offseason. Tomorrow, I'm going to get into this Bobby Slowick thing. I think there's something. I'm going to put this video out probably in the noonish. I'm going to see what this snow weather's like. I'm very intrigued to see how my daughter reacts to snow. She's 17 months. I think she might be a fool with it. We just took her to the movies for the first time today, and God, she loved it. Crazy. She only lasted like 1:15, but she was a big fan. She was into it like a mofo. So we'll see how the snow works, but we'll get that. We'll still have the night stream tomorrow as well. Localized divisional thoughts, as we always localize it. Typically, we're like talking about standings here. It's kind of like, well, they're moving on without you, so it's hard to localize. So just going through the games, we've already obviously beat the hell out of the Chiefs-Texans game. For the Washington game, I think it's clear, and I said this before the playoffs even started, like Jaden Daniels is having a better rookie season than CJ. And they're both from the same area. CJ actually shouted him out today. And we'll react to CJ's presser tomorrow as well. But I think without the playoff game, and we've had this conversation, when you factor in what he does with his legs and all the stuff he's doing, I thought Jaden had a better rookie year than CJ before. I think he made it easier for people to see that with the playoff wins. But I thought he did even without the playoff wins. He might have made it more simple to accept. But I think he's clearly done that. The Dan Campbell thing, it'll be interesting to see. They have a really good offensive coordinator. They're going to have to replace him. So it'll be interesting to see that. And here we are. There's a offensive coordinator, and you hope that you're going to replace him. So interesting stuff there. Then the morning game, the Eagles and the Rams. I don't like snow games anymore. I think that every stadium should have an indoor option at this point. The fans are paying too much in the stands. There's just too much going on. There's too much money. I know people like watching the snow games. It looks good. I just think we got to eliminate that. But I found myself rooting for Matthew Stafford more so than Jalen Hurts, 2 Texas high school guys going at it. Found myself rooting for him. And I also think it's really cool how McVay always has his guys ready to go no matter what. And then the final game, Baltimore versus Buffalo. Lamar Jackson haters are going to go nowhere. It doesn't matter what he does. It's just a lot with the Lamar Jackson hate. It just continues. And Buffalo, I think the Texans got him at the right time. Now they got their weapons. I think Buffalo's going to beat Kansas City's ass. I think it's going to be a dub. Those are famous last words. The greatest dynasties make all idiots look bad, but I think the Texans were going to get their ass whooped by the Bills or the Ravens, and I think it's going to happen with the Chiefs too. We'll see. Maybe that's wishful thinking. I just think they're better. Evan on the soup says, well, Landry, whoever digs, T ain't coming to us. I don't want T. Chris Godwin's not worth it. Don't want him either. In the draft, we have to give up the world for Garrett Wilson. I don't think they're going to trade Garrett Wilson. I would imagine that the next coach is going to want to keep Garrett there and keep him very happy. I mean, if you're going to trade for someone, Cooper Kupp, although he might be kind of washed, although they could use like an intermediate option. Debo's a name that comes up. Don't know about that. Although he would already be your second best running back, which is crazy to say. He would be your second best running back and second best receiver, washed or not, knows this system a little bit. DK Metcalf's another name to keep an eye on. JSN's doing his thing. I think Metcalf would be nice. George Pickens could get traded. Could the Texans handle George Pickens? Little bit of a knucklehead. I don't know if they want to do that, but that could be another one. But I would draft someone and go younger than Diggs. We'll get specific names as we go. To be fair to CJ, Daniels is in the NFC. Come on, come on, dude. Like he's in the NFC. Come on, like let's not be ridiculous. I mean, yeah, he's in the NFC. So what? What's your point? I mean, you're watching what this dude's doing. He's in the NFC. Come on, dude. I mean, he just completely annihilated the Lions and did what he did before. Let's NFC. Come on. What are we saying here? That's a little wild. So we'll see. Someone says Debo had the same exact stats as he wasn't good this year. No, he wasn't good at all. I'm talking about him just being kind of having a diverse skill set, but yeah, he wasn't great. Debo was not good. They got a lot of receivers there now. They got Jennings. They just drafted Pearsall. I think Debo does get cut. I don't know. Like, do you bring him in here? I still think you need someone young. Like those old guys. Don't get me wrong. I'm not sitting here saying they're the end all be all. I think you still get a young guy with those guys. But yeah, we'll see how that goes. Jaden's not as accurate as CJ Stroud. I don't know about that. He's pretty accurate. The numbers are not like crazy far off for not accurate. And I don't know that CJ was very accurate this year. He's got the ball placement specialist or whatever label. I don't know that CJ was that accurate. There's not a gap. Like Jaden Daniels, when you start having this discussion, sometimes he gets talked about as like as if he just like can't throw or something. He can sling the ball for sure. Better off with Diggs than Debo. I would disagree with that. I think there's a shelf life on Diggs. Just like there was a shelf life on Randy Moss in New England, there was a shelf life on Antonio Brown in Tampa Bay. Diggs was a good teammate here. They did a good job making that a one-year deal. They did a good job trading back 19 spots to basically acquire him and ended up getting Kamari Lassiter. Good on Diggs, man. There's more stuff you can do with Debo. Debo's not coming off the injury. Fresh start. If you told me I was picking between those two, I would take Debo. That's just me, though. Appreciate y'all for rolling through. Subscribe, like, right along. Shout out to BetUS. Promo code YouTube 150 if you want to get 150% back bonus up to 2K just in time for Buffalo. Maybe you can be like me and bet on the Bills to beat their ass. Appreciate y'all for coming through. We'll react to CJ tomorrow. We'll talk about this Slowick thing. And most importantly, we'll try to stay warm with the snow coming to Houston. Always remember, when it comes to this Texan stuff, we're all in it together. Have a good night, peeps.
If it's up, then it's up. We number one. You don't need to try your luck. Locker room, yeah, we in the locker room. Texas talk, yeah, you know what we about to do. Localize every angle's what we really do.